Mark, do you think about the Hall of Fame at all? Like, is that on your mind? Do you get asked about it a lot? Do you care about it?
Yeah, I mean, I care about it, but it's I mean, if it happens, it happens. It's one of those things that unfortunately I missed my time, and if there's a time when it's with the committee, the separate committee they have now that might vote me in. I mean that would be an unbelievable feeling, but it's past its time. It's you know what else am I going to say? It's unfortunate.
I listen. I wasn't in it, but I was kind of at the tail end of it, whatever you want to call it. But I think that what you did for baseball alone in 1998 with Sammy, right? You were lucky. You're fortunate you had someone with you. I mean, what you went through. You talked about the fans. You talked about the home runs. You talked about people following you everywhere. It's almost like a Cal Ripken moment remember when he broke the record, right? That was a moment. I mean, and so for me as a kid and then as a minor league player and then coming up and then getting to watch it live, I mean, that alone should give you credit because it's not like you're not a well-liked guy. Everyone I know loves you. I mean, we're talking to you here. You've been great. So it's not a thing of that. No, I'm serious. Everybody, like Eric Karros, obviously I know Eric Karros. Yeah. Like they all talk about you like on a different level of a great guy. And so, and that always is supposed to play into it. And I just don't see how there's a way that with all you did and for baseball, playing baseball, that they should, and whatever happened. It doesn't matter to me. But I agree. I believe that there should be something where you, Barry, Roger, the guys, like the dudes that were the dudes, the dudes, because you played against. I played against.
There's a lot of dudes.
Yeah. There's a lot of dudes that didn't get in for various reasons, but I think there should be a way that we should get you in and the dudes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean it's unfortunate. Again, it's like obviously it's up to the committee. The committee's with some of the Hall of Famers and a few writers, I believe. And so, I mean, if it does, it's fantastic. I mean, it would be an unbelievable moment. But I'm not going to expect it. To your point, like saying that I'm a nice guy is like that's all I thought about was being nice to my teammates and respect my teammates. And the thought that people forget they look at what happened, but the thought of what it's not like I meant to have this happen. It's just like it just happened. And to basically put baseball on my back and turn it around and get people to love the game again after what we did in '94. And it's just one of those things I think a lot of people forgot about that. It's like, listen, I agree with you. I even though the size might see something, but the sensitivity inside and the feelings that I have for my teammates and how, like, when I went through '98 and how I was embarrassed that the media would come up and talk to me every game and take away some notoriety from the players amongst that clubhouse that did really well that game. They wanted to come talk to me about not hitting a home run or hitting a home run. And it was one of those things where I almost felt embarrassed about it because I was like, oh my God, listen, I couldn't have any teammates even want to go out with me. They couldn't go out with me because everywhere I went. And I've said this story a few times. I had 2 security guards with me, and they had rooms next to me for the last, I believe, month and a half of the season on the road. And they were both packing. They didn't want to have anything happen that there was, as the rumor was, what happened to Hank Aaron and supposedly stuff. And you hear about the stories about his mom coming and hugging him and think that something was going to happen. They were carrying stuff with them. They were packing. They were PD guys. And so it's one of those things that, I really, listen, I did what I did in the hard work that I put behind it, the amount of mindset that I had to go through. and what I had to go through that last weekend of the season. I was just telling this story the other day. This young kid that I was working with asked me, he goes, "Hey, how was it going to that last week with against Sammy?" And I said, "Well, let me tell you." So I'm sitting on the field that Friday night. Sammy's playing in Houston, and the whole stadium has the game on, watching Sammy in Houston. And I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden I hear this, oh, and he went ahead. He hit 66, and I was at 65. And then I said to myself, I said, I can't let this happen, because it's like, the funny thing is I'm sitting there going, okay, I broke the record first, but if Sammy takes this over, he's going to have the record. And in my mind, I dug as deep as I can dig. I was like being Tiger Woods winning all his championships. I was like Kobe Bryant doing what he does. And it's one of those things where I ended up hitting 5 home runs in the next 3 days and ended up with 70. And it's just like it's just the mindset can get you to get you places where you don't know. And it's unfortunate that I guess people want to forget that. And but it's just one of those things that, listen, I apologize for what I did, and that didn't have to happen. I didn't need it, and I'll tell you what, that was fucking a lot of hard work that I fucking put in, and I appreciate AJ you saying those things and everybody saying those things about me, and hopefully someday that I do get a call, and it would be such a great honor.
Do you feel like you're being unfairly punished, or maybe your group? Maybe I should say the group of you, not maybe singling you out as just yourself, but kind of that whole group of, again, the same people are being unfairly punished because of a bias or whatever you want to call it.
Well, it seems like it. That's what it is. I think I heard Barry say it the other day. There was no rules and there was no regulation. Believe me, trust me. If there was any rules in place, and that stuff would have never happened. There was no testing. There was no nothing. So it's like, and I agree with what Barry was saying. It's like there's like, listen, that was the culture. That was that's what was going on back in those days, and whatever. But I can personally tell you from me, knowing me, listen, I didn't need to do it, and I apologize for it, and but there was a lot of fucking hard work that went behind all the shit that people want to give me to do what I did.
Listen, I came up right at the tail end. I told you that, but for me, like you said, there was no testing. It was the Wild West. I mean, it literally was. And then once they started testing, like whatever you did before there was testing, and again, I know it wasn't legal in the U.S., right? Like it was, whatever. But once you started testing, and then if you got popped, that was when I was like, as a player, I was like, now these dudes are like hardcore bad, right? But if you were doing it, whatever you did, like that, like it happened before, and some people felt, and I think Barry said this, and some other people said, I need to keep up with, because there was a lot of people doing it. And I'm not going to name any names, but I played with a ton of guys, and some made it and some didn't. That did it, and they still didn't make it, right? So to me, it's like, okay, there was this generation of players that were unbelievably good. And Mark, you can't tell me that you don't know dudes that are in the Hall of Fame that did it. I mean, I do. And that's fine. That was their thing. Yeah, but you can't be selective about it. You got to be, hey, this is what it was. And you, like you said, there was a shitload of hard work that went in, and you worked your ass off, and you put baseball on your back in '98 and made it a thing again.
Right. Well, I mean, AJ, to your point, yeah. I mean, it's like, yeah, I know a lot. I know a lot, but I'm from that school where I keep things to myself, and I'm not going to sit there and point fingers at anybody. But yeah, I know a lot, and I'll just keep it there. And listen, all I can do is, and this is where I just take responsibility for me, and that's all I can worry about is me and being a good person, being a good human being, being a good father, being a good husband, and that's all I care about. So I know I can wake up every day and look at myself in the mirror and appreciate what I see.